Good morning, y'all, and welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining us. Hope it's a good morning for you. It hasn't been a good morning for us for several days now because our furnace is out and it's getting below freezing the last few nights. But before we get started with that, I'd like to thank today's sponsor and the sponsor of our curtain giveaway, Aurora Heated Jackets. Our new Aurora Heated Jackets.
Oh man.
They finally got here. And we've partnered with them so we can give away 2 of these to 2 of you guys out there. But before we talk about how to enter the contest, let's talk about what came in the bag. So these come in this neat little bag like this. Well, not really in this. They come in a box first. When we take it out of the box, it's in this little carrying case right here. And inside, you have 1 heated jacket, the mini 5K battery, and the battery charger.
So I got the women's heated jacket. It's shark skin gray, and it has 4 heating zones.
I got the heated fleece hoodie. And it only has 3 heating zones, but man, feel that fleece.
I know, it looks so soft and fluffy. I love it. I'm kind of jealous.
So once you get your jackets out of the bag, it's time to put them together and turn them on. So you have the 5K mini battery here. You just press the button till it's on, and that tells you how much battery life you have. Then you open your jacket, and right here in this pocket is a cord. You plug your battery in, put it back in there, and this is how you turn it on. You see this logo right here, the Aurora logo? You press it, and it will light up saying it's on.
Oh, that's super cool.
So it has 3 different modes. It has white, which is medium heat. It has blue, which is low heat. And it has red, which is high heat. On a full charge, this battery will power this jacket on low mode for 10 hours, on medium mode for 6 hours, and on high mode for 3 hours. So another cool feature is the battery has some output ports, meaning I can charge my phone while heating myself. So you just take the battery out, you can plug your phone charger in, and now not only am I warm, my device will stay fully charged.
So I just found all my heating zones because I'm warming up now. I have one in each of my pockets for my hands, keeps me so warm. I also have one on my neck here and one on my upper back. This thing is perfect. But what I also love is that it has a detachable hood, so I can just unzip it and take the hood off when I don't need that. I have a new love in my life. Sorry, babe. This thing is so awesome. It's keeping me so warm.
I love to wear hoodies. I don't like to wear big jackets, but sometimes the hoodies I'm wearing are not heavy enough for the temperature outside. Now I have a hoodie that can turn the temperature up to make me comfortable no matter what the temperature is outside.
So when you live in an RV, space is a premium. And what I love about these heated jackets is that if you're not in a climate where you need a jacket, they come with this great little carrying case. So you can fold it up, store it away, put your battery pack in here, and you don't have to have it taking up space in your closet.
Another great thing about these jackets is when you live on the road full time, you have to carry jackets for every season, meaning we carry light jackets, medium jackets, heavy jackets, and that takes up a lot of space in our RV. This one right here can become all 3 depending on the temperature setting you choose. So it's going to help us thin out the amount of jackets we have to carry while living full-time on the road. If you want more information on the Aurora Heated Jackets, check the link in the description below. Today, March 16th, is your last chance to get entered to win the Aurora Jacket giveaway. We're giving away 2 classic heated jackets valued at $209 a piece. And in order to get yourself entered to win, head over to pavingnewhouse.com and purchase any of our merch. Anything from our merch store gets you entered to win one of the classic heated jackets. Thanks again to Aurora Heated Jackets for sponsoring today's video and our current giveaway. We're having problems with our furnace, and when I started this project, I didn't think I was going to be making an entire video about it. But it's been 3 days now of me working on this furnace, and it's become a thing. So here it is, a whole video about how to fix or how not to fix your RV furnace. And the best way to start this story is to go back to the beginning when it all started. So when we got here, we got set up and it was still below freezing at night. So we've been running the furnace. We went to bed, everything was fine. Woke up in the middle of the night, it was freezing in the RV. So I assumed I ran out of propane. I came out here and checked, I had full propane. The furnace wasn't running. So I turned it off and back on. The blower would come on for about 20 seconds and just shut off. I didn't do any research that night because it was 3 in the morning. I just turned the heaters on the side and we got more blankets out. Well, the next morning I woke up and started looking into our problem, and everything on the internet says it's probably your sail switch. So our first thing to do is to pull this cover off and figure out what the sail switch is, where it is, and if it's good or bad. Step 1, we need to get access to the furnace and all of its inner workings. So we take this cover off right here. There's 1, 2, 3, and 4 bolts, and that comes off and gives you access to the control board, the fan, the housing, everything inside for the furnace and how it works is right behind this door. So now that we have the cover off, we have access to everything about the furnace. So we have the motor, the fan housing, we have the gas line, we have an on-off switch, the control board, And the most important thing is we now know what model we have. We have a SF35Q. We know it's made by Suburban. There's also a wiring schematic. It's very important that we know what model it is now, because now we can use this information to figure out how to troubleshoot it, how to get the user manual, all kinds of information that's gonna help us resolve this problem. That'll come in later. So the first thing we wanna do is we wanna find out how to get the sail switch out and see if the sail switch is good or bad. By the way, I had to do some research this morning. I had to figure out what a sail switch does. So the sail switch is just a switch that says the blower motor is running and you can proceed with the sequence. So the fan comes on, the blower motor will activate the sail switch, which is a normally open switch, and it goes closed whenever it feels enough volume of air passing across it. And then it can go to the next sequence, which is to open the gas valve and start the ignition sequence. We're not doing that. So logic tells you that the sail switch is doing something with this because it never proceeds past the first step. We're gonna pull the sail switch off and we're gonna check it out to see if it's good or bad. In order to get the sail switch out, we have to remove 4 bolts from this fan housing. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And also this one right here. Then this housing can come out and you get access to the sail switch that's on the back side of it. We have the fan housing off and it gives you access to the sail switch. And all it is a switch that when you turn the fan on, it goes like this. It says the fan's running, proceed with the next step. So by doing that, you are closing the normally open switch and voltage will pass through the wires. Well, we're not seeing the next step, so we think the problem might be the sail switch. Also, my neighbor thinks the problem might be the sail switch. So we're gonna take a look at this, pull it off, check it with a multimeter, and then we'll start doing some voltage checks and see what's going on. We have the sail switch out and we have our multimeter out, and we're gonna check to see is the switch good. So right now we have set up to ohms. It's set up right there on the switch. We're reading open loop, which means it's a normally open switch. And then when I close it, 0.2, which means this is a good switch. So we verified that our sail switch is working correctly, meaning it closes and lets voltage go through. It's not a damaged switch. But just to be safe, my neighbor let us borrow his replacement sail switch. We have that installed and we're gonna put everything back together. We put everything back together with a new sail switch from our neighbor that we borrowed, and we turned it on, and the same thing. The blower motor comes on, runs for about 20 seconds, turns off, never goes to the next sequence of events. So at this point, we have family in town and we don't want to spend all day working on this. So we decided to put everything back together, and I call an RV tech and ask him if he can come out and take a look at it sometime next week, because we don't need it today, but we would like it fixed soon. We can't get a hold of any techs over the weekend, so I'll wait till Monday morning. I call up the local RV repair facility and they say, no problem, we'll put you in our schedule. When do you want us? I was like, well, it's Monday. I don't really need it today. We still have family in town. Can you come like Friday this week? He says, no problem. I'll give you a call back when I get you in the schedule. Tuesday goes by and Wednesday goes by with no phone call back. Thursday morning, yesterday, I call him up and ask him if he's gonna be able to come out and take a look at my furnace because it's about to be below freezing again. It's been fine the last few days, but now it's gonna start getting cold again. And he proceeds to tell me that he can't come on Friday, which is why I called a week in advance and he told me it was no problem coming on Friday. But he can come today. He goes, I can be there within 30 minutes. And he goes, tell me more about your problem. I have a Suburban 35Q furnace installed on my trailer. It comes on for about 20 seconds and turns off. And he says, well, it's the sail switch. And I says, that's what we thought. We've tried a new sail switch and we verified that both sail switches are mechanically sound, meaning that they do go from open to close and it shows continuity between the switch. And he says, well, the next thing is it's most likely it's gonna be the control board. And I said, that's kind of where I'm leaning because you need to be told to send voltage through that switch. He's like, well, if it's the control board, there's no point in me coming out there. And I think it probably is the control board. So I'll just go ahead and order one up, but it'll be like 7 to 10 days before I can get one. So he's talking about like the end of next week before he can come out and fix our furnace. Well, we won't be here into next week. We're leaving. We're going on our adventures. So you mean you fix RVs, but you don't have parts? He goes, oh, that's a special part. So this is where things started to get a little difficult with the repair tech, because first of all, he's speaking down to me as though I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm no expert, but I understand how most things work. And that's a tip for you guys. If someone calls you and asks you questions, talk to them like they're intelligent. Don't talk to them like they have no idea what's going on. I may not know how it works. Obviously I don't, because I haven't fixed it yet, but I'm on the same page as you. I understand most of the time how things work or supposed to work. So the next thing is he tells me that my SF35Q is a special model. Well, I've done the research online, and that Suburban uses the same control board for every 12 volt furnace, no matter the model, the 20, the 25, the 30, the 35, the 15, all Suburban furnaces that are 12 volt use the same control board. The only difference is they do make a 24 volt furnace, which is a different control board. And there's one with time delay and without time delay, but it doesn't change the way it works. So he tells me it's a special control board and we have to wait for it. He only buys it from the OEM. Well, I already know that that's an untrue answer because it's not special. It's very generic, and I can find them online on Amazon, RV parts repair places. Everywhere I look, I can have it tomorrow overnighted. So I tell him I'm gonna go do some more work outside, and I would call him back. The first call I made was to the closest RV dealer from us, which is about 20 miles, and gave him the part number for my board. And I asked him to verify, will this part work for a Suburban SF35Q? No problem, it will work, and we have one. So I get in the truck, and I drive down the road 20 miles, get my control board. In my brain, I'm thinking, this has got to be the problem. If the sail switch is good, the control board is the problem. Because the conversation I had with the RV tech, he kind of convinced me that that was probably the problem as well. Well, that's probably my first mistake, is I took information I was given and I made the quickest assumption possible, which is the control board will fix everything. So I get back from getting my control board and I had to go ahead and take everything back apart as though I was going after the sail switch. And that's because the control board is on the side of the blower housing and you can't get to it unless you take this cover off again, because that's what holds it in place on this rail system. So it's got 3 wires that hook to it as well as this plug right here. And it's pretty easy to get off, but be gentle. So I proceed to change out the control board with the new one I just got from the RV dealer. And then I put it all back together, I fire it up, and guess what? The blower comes on for 20 seconds and then shuts down. It never goes to the next sequence of events, which is the gas valve and the igniter. And now I've done spent $93 on a part that I was convinced was going to fix it, and we are actually in the same boat. So now we know that the control board is not the problem and the sail switch is not the problem. Which brings us to today, our current dilemma. We've changed the control board out, we've put a new sail switch in it, and the furnace is still doing the same thing. So last night, I downloaded user manuals, I downloaded schematics, and I started digging in and doing research. It's the whole reason I wanted to call the tech to begin with, is because I didn't want to make this a deal. Well, guess what? It's a deal now. We're gonna fix it. Now it's one of my goals, is I'm gonna figure out how to make this thing work, because it's not very complicated, but so far, I threw 2 parts at it and it didn't fix it. So now we've done some research and we found that there is another problem in the circuit that be causing all this to happen. It's called a limit switch. The limit switch is actually on the front of the furnace, which is behind the wall in the basement. So this morning, we're gonna go ahead and get all the stuff out of the basement, get the wall opened up, get access to that limit switch, and we're gonna find out if the limit switch is actually bad or not. And I've already called the local RV place and they have one as well. But first, we're gonna troubleshoot it before we throw another part at it. So we have everything in the basement. It gives us access to our basement walls. So I've actually modified ours. It used to have a 45-degree angle piece right there. Well, I actually moved this wall over and made it squared off so I could store more. I also gave myself a small access door right there so I could get in there and do repairs without having to take all the wall down. Welcome to behind the wall. And this is actually the first time I've seen back here since before we ever started. So I fixed all these walls right here to cover all this up. And if you've never seen back here, proceed with caution, because this is the one thing I wish they would have done better. They could have done so many things better in here to make this more friendly and usable for not only themselves when making repairs, but for the end user if they want to do anything. Now that we're here, we need to get to the back side of that furnace to check out that limit switch. Update from the belly of the beast. We finally figured out how to get the hose clamps off the ducting and get them off the back of the furnace. Now we're trying to figure out how to get the furnace door off to get access to the limit switch, because that's where it's supposed to be. At least in the diagram I looked at and the YouTube video I looked at, it's on the back side of that door. I hope it's there, because we had to work hard to get to this point. Good news, bad news. The good news is we have the furnace cover off and there is the limit switch. The bad news is Alicia started washing and I started noticing we have a drip on the cold water supply to our hot water heater tank. Not only are we fixing the furnace, we have a blue store trip today because this is my first leak, and I've been dreading the day that one of these start leaking, because that is a mess. That is real bad. Looks like we're going to buy some more PEX, crimping tool, the crimps, and we're gonna have to go through here and do some work because that right there is no good. We got the limit switch out and it's supposed to be a normally closed switch. Well, guess what? That's not the problem. Because here we are, we have it set up and it's reading as a closed circuit. So now I have to go do some more research and figure out what else it could be, because now we know it's not the limit switch, it's not the sail switch, and we put a new board on it and it's still doing the same thing. So now I gotta dig a little deeper. What do you think about all that?
This feels like what your nightmares are made of. You don't like this.
I don't want to see anything behind that wall right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so you see the blue one on the bottom of the water tank?
Yeah.
That's the one that's leaking. Where the rag is? No, where the rag is up there?
Oh, up there, okay. That's our water tank?
Yeah.
That's how little it is?
That's 12 gallons.
That's pretty good.
Uh-huh.
To be so small.
And you see that white thing right by your head? That's probably what's causing our shower to drain slow. What do you think's in there? You think maybe our...
Some Thanksgiving throw up. If you haven't watched that video, we can link that one for you. That was quite a time. So are you going to replace that too?
There's a lot going on today.
Oh, okay.
So we started off trying to fix a furnace. Now we got a water leak. And now while we're here, we might as well fix that too.
It looks like you read your to-do list today again. Fix RV stuff. And when you're done, repeat step 1, because you'll have more stuff to fix.
We got the user manual out, the schematics, and we followed the troubleshooting guide, and we checked voltages at the board, voltages at the limit switch, voltages at the sail switch, and then I got to one step in the troubleshooting. It said check the temp switch. So I'm looking everywhere for the temp switch, and then I find another drawing that says check the thermostat. They're throwing the thermostat around, and the temp switch is the same thing. So I'm thinking there's a temp switch somewhere on this unit and I can't find it. Turns out they're referring to the thermostat that is inside the RV. Well, ours is run off the one control. I don't know how to reset that, so I just get a push pin out and I hit the reset button on my one control. And guess what, guys? When it all came back up, I fired up the old furnace and everything works just fine. So for some reason our temp switch got too hot or did something to shut down the system. It's likely due to the fact that it's been very cold and we've been running our fireplace around the clock and it's blowing heat right on the temp switch or the thermostat, and that caused the furnace to not operate. So now we got to put all this mess back together, stuff on the outside too. We're gonna go ahead and get that done and do one final check to make sure it's still good, but it's blowing hot air again and working like it should. And this seems really silly because all this could have been fixed with a push pin. We didn't have to spend any parts or do all this research. Well, we had to do all the research, but essentially I had to reset the one control system and now everything's fine. So let that be a lesson to you. I could have called an RV tech out here to do this for me and he would have charged me quite a bit of money. Instead, I now am the owner of a $93 spare circuit board because the other one obviously wasn't broken, and I know a little bit more about my furnace than I thought I should ever know. I'm gonna put this back together and then we're gonna have to tackle the water leak. We got everything back together. The hardest part about this job is getting the ducting back on the back of the furnace. That's because you can't do anything with two hands. Everything's one-handed and you have to reach through all that mess to get them back on the back of the furnace, and then you have to tighten the hose clamp one-handed while it wants to rotate on you. Fun times. Now that the furnace is working and that's behind us, we have two things to do since we're back here. One, we found a water leak that is on the cold water supply to the hot water heater tank. So I just opened my low point drains, popped the relief valve on the water tank, and now it's drained the water tank out. And while it does that, I need to look at this little white thing. I'm pretty sure that's probably like a one-way check valve or something, because these showers don't have P-traps, so that's probably what that is, to keep, you know, the gray tank stuff from coming back into the shower. But right now, we're having a problem with our shower draining slow. So I'm gonna pull that off, see if I can clean it up, figure out what it is, and maybe we'll grab one when we go to town, because we already know we're going to Lowe's to get PEX and PEX tools and PEX supplies to fix this water leak, and we might as well take care of that while we're in here. We got that guy taken off, and we took a look at it, and it actually is kind of like a P-trap. It's like a P-trap without a P-trap because it has a flap in there and it keeps things, I guess, smells from going back up. But I've been using the plunger from the shower side and I've sucked the diaphragm up, so that's probably why it's draining slow. Now, things came up the other day, so we went ahead and cleaned that out, put it back together. Should be good to go on that. Now, I'm gonna take these water line off, I'm gonna head to Lowe's, make sure I get all the things I need, then we'll come back and put it back together. All right, we have our leaking hose out. I understand why they have PEX, a connection, this flexible hose, which is probably not PEX, and then this right here, this is the problem. So you can twist this inside the crimp. So the crimp is not tight anymore. And it's leaking right here on the collar, not up here. So we're gonna go to the store and get enough PEX to fix all this. Back from Lowe's, I am now the proud owner of a PEX crimp tool, some PEX cutters, some PEX clamps, and an assortment of PEX fittings, as well as 2 of these 5-foot sections of PEX hose. I think the most expensive part about fixing this problem is buying the tools to do it, because the piping and the fittings are fairly cheap. It's the tools that cost the most. The one we're fixing is the one that runs from the Nautilus Bay to the hot water heater. That's the first one that I want to fix because it was leaking. Now this one right here that runs from the Nautilus Bay to the water pump, it's collapsed on itself. So I'm thinking of replacing it with PEX so that it won't be collapsed, so that I can increase my flow and my pressure, because I'm sure that line being collapsed like that is not doing the water pump very good. So we have our new water lines made. I made 2 of them, one from the Nautilus panel to the water pump and one from the Nautilus panel to the hot water heater. Now we're gonna fill the system back up with water and verify leaks. In order to do that, we're not gonna use the hookups from the RV park. Instead, we're gonna use the onboard pump because it puts out 60 PSI. So we're gonna fill our freshwater tanks, switch over to the water pump, turn it on, and let it pressurize the entire system. And a good indication of a leak is if this thing never stops running, that means we're leaking somewhere. But if this thing pressure's up and stops running and shuts off, that means our new lines are now holding pressure. We'll also verify they're not leaking all the connections that we put in before we put this wall up. That way we can ensure we have no more problems. All right guys, so we have our water system filled back up. It's pressurized, it's holding 60 PSI. The pump is not running, and we verified all of our connections are not leaking. So we're gonna call it good. Now it's time to put the wall back up, pick up all of our tools, and we got to put all that back in its home. Hope you guys enjoyed hanging out with me today. I'm not sure if I taught you anything or not. Hopefully, if you ever come across the same problem I did, you start at the easy thing, which is to reset the furnace. Now, we had an eventful day of fixing our furnace, fixing a water leak, and taking care of a leaky drain valve on our shower. I'm not sure if we accomplished anything, but right now everything is fixed on this RV. We're gonna put it back together. Remember, today is the last day to get entered to win the Aurora heated jackets. So head over to pavingnewpaths.com right now and get yourself entered to win some of those jackets for yourself. Anyway, we love you, we enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.